Welcome everyone. We have in this site plan, we have created a civil 3D parcel and we've created a couple civil 3D alignments, but yet of course our drawing doesn't look anywhere near as complete as what we're seeing here in Bluebeam. So let's talk a little bit about what's next. And what's next is a lot of basic AutoCAD work. So we have this canal. By the way, this site plan is based in Florida. So we have to draw in some water. We're going to have some landscaping rocks. We're going to have a driveway, some sidewalk. We need to show the outline of our building on this site and a sidewalk out here. So all of these areas are either just AutoCAD line work or hatched regions. So let's go through and put in this thing called Dolphin Canal to start with. Let's do that. I will minimize this, come back into Civil 3D. And in essence, what I want to do is draw an outline and then use the hatch command. So I'm going to do that. I will navigate to model space, and I know in my layout that this text called survey point legend is kind of towards the top of my viewport. So here, making sure I just have a basic lines layer active, I'm going to draw a horizontal line, and I'll just kind of make sure that it's somewhat above that survey point legend. So I'm happy with that. And now I need to draw the rest of the boundary. Well, the canal goes right up to the property, so I will draw a line right on top of this parcel line. I will draw a circle right on top of this arc, and then I will make sure that the line coming up here is perpendicular to this line. So multiple ways to do that, but here's how I'm going to do it. I'll use my line command, and I am going to just select these endpoints. Of course, I need to make sure that my node snap is on. So there's a line. I will use my circle command. If I hover over this point, I can see the center of my arc. So that's the center of my circle, and that's the radius of my arc. Click that. And so now what I'm going to do is get this perpendicular line. So I'm going to come over here and select the line I drew. Right? Notice there's multiple things here. So when I click, I get my option box, and I'm going to pick line and say I want to create a polar array. What's the center of my polar array? I hover over the circle, come down and select the center point. And I get a bunch of items here. So I want to choose my items option. And instead of 6 items, I want 4. So I get a line that's the opposite. I get one that's at 270 degrees and one that's at 90. So that's kind of the line I want. So I'll press enter. And then I'm going to use my explode command, and I will explode this array. Press enter, and I'm now going to select these 2 lines that I don't want anymore and delete them. And now it's a matter of kind of trim and extend to get what I want. I'll use extend first, and I'm going to let's see, I'll extend this line, and I might be able to extend this. Let's give it a shot. I'll say extend the line, and yeah, I can't. And I can't because if I extended it, there's nothing out here. So I need to actually trim these 2 lines to a corner, hitting escape a couple times. My method is I'll use the fillet command, enter a radius of 0. And now come down and pick this, get my line option, choose this line, and I create a corner. So now I can use my trim, and I will trim away the excess portion of the circle and the excess portion of this line, and I have that enclosed region that I'm going to need to create a hatch. I'll hit escape a couple times. Use my hatch command, right? This is the AutoCAD area, so this is exactly like the AutoCAD hatch. And here's what you should see. If we scroll down a few rows, there should be something like a cross. And this cross isn't necessarily water, but it's the closest I could find to come with. And if I think your standard scale is going to say 1, I'll press enter. And if I hover inside, yeah, I guess I'll click inside. We just get this massive number of little hatch marks. So we don't want anything near that. And well, I played around, and I think a scale of about 50 makes sense. And I'm done. So I'm going to close my hatch creation tools. And you may see that one of your dragged leaders kind of comes over that. That's not the end of the world, but kind of clean things up and either drag it so that it's not blocking any of these cross marks, or quite honestly set it up so that it completely blocks one. Either one is kind of acceptable. Let's see if I can, yeah, so if I can completely block that. So the idea here is that the annotation is clear and not overriding anything visually. So I am going to choose for mine, I'm going to bring that down off, and I'll kind of bring it off on an angle, and so the whole cross shows up. My dragged annotation makes sense. If I navigate back to my layout, it looks just like Bluebeam PDF, where that canal goes all the way up off the viewport. And again, I just sort of used this legend as a reference. So now that I'm in my active viewport, I can navigate to annotate, use my multi-line text, and kind of put in a box. And I think this thing's called Dolphin opposite corner. There we go. Dolphin Canal. And my text is going to be 0.056 in my file. So for me to change that, I'm going to select my text, and yeah, there's a major label, so I'm going to choose 0.25. See if that gets it for me. Sure doesn't look like it, but I'm going to go ahead and click out, and it really doesn't look so bad, does it? So that's civil taking care of the annotative text. So when I was putting it in and entered 0.25, civil thought, actually this text, let's double check. I'm going to double click in here. Yeah. Okay, so civil assumed that I wanted feet. By the time I do enter, it knows it's annotative, and the annotative dimensions are in inches, so it becomes 1/4 of an inch as opposed to 1/4 of a foot. So a little bit annoying, but it all works out. All right, so where are we at? From here, now you should be able to be creating an landscape area that has some rock in it, a concrete driveway, a concrete walk, put a dock in here. And by the way, you don't see any dimensions, but assume that this area here is for a boat slip. So maybe a 3-foot wide dock. And if this area is for people to come out and sit, maybe this is a 6 or 8-foot wide walkway with maybe a 10 by 12 or something area. And the same walkway here is the width of this walkway. So make something that looks reasonable. And when you come to the driveway and sidewalks in this sidewalk, there is a little more definition, right? We can see that the main sidewalk is 5 feet wide. Its one edge is right on the border of the property. There are dimensions for the driveway, and we can see that the sidewalk is 3.5 feet wide. It comes in centered on the front door, and you can reference some of these front door dimension details over here in this view A. All right, so from here, begin to work on now the AutoCAD geometry. And of course, we will cover a few more annotation topics in this project as well. So I hope this section is helpful, and we'll see you in the next section.